Hey guys, Mrhappy here, and today we're going to go over the changes for patch 2.05. I'm going to go over a great deal of them, and as well as give my thoughts. We're also going to go over some of the things that aren't here that were actually hotfixed, and some of them are pretty significant. So I'm wondering why there's really no mention of them, but well, I guess we'll see here. So first we're just going to go over some of the basics. Some of these I'm just going to ride through really quickly without really commenting, and some of them we're going to talk about, we're just going to talk about them for a little bit. So basically, there's just a few things right off the top that I want to get out of the way. You no longer need Mrhappy Keep to reach Second Lieutenant on Grand Company quests. You could just clear Orm Vale. That's very clear in the notes, so I don't need to really talk about that. Though I do think it's good because Orm Vale was pretty pointless before. Airship and ferry fares have been reduced. Awesome. Experience received from miner and botanist guild leaves have been increased. This one's pretty significant. As an example, leaves that previously gave about 2.5k EXP now give about 6k, so that's the kind of increase we're talking about here. It's pretty significant, guys. And additional details regarding quest progress. They fixed a Relic Reborn in the journal. The journal entries are a bit clearer as to what you have to do on a per step basis. So those are the first few, but now let's go into the ones that I really actually want to talk about. Now, they improved instant serviceability overall, but they also added some additional servers for Wanderer's Palace and Mrhappy Keep. This is so you don't get that annoying reserving instance thing where, you know, you sit there with a party of 4 for a good 20-30 minutes and you can't get in. So that's really good. Hopefully, we'll see that really in its prime next Monday when Mrhappy Keep comes out again and people need their mythology resets and everything. So we'll see about that. Number of Tombstones of Philosophy awarded from Wanderer's Palace and Mrhappy Keep have both been bumped up to 100 philosophy points per dungeon, probably trying to get them on par with Castrum and Praetorium to draw people away from speedrunning those story dungeons. Now, number of Tombstones of Mythology also saw some increases. Wanderer's Palace previously dropped none, now drops 30. So it's now a viable option for farming your mythology points every week. Just need to do 10 runs as opposed to the 9 Mrhappy Keep runs. So it's really only 1 extra run per week. So what else do we got here? We have Howling Eye and Titan Hard. So Garuda Hard Mode now drops 10 mythology tokens, and what is it? Titan Hard Mode drops 15. It says Howling Eye in the navel, and it's like, I don't want to say those. Nobody cares about the navel. It's like the belly button of Eorzea. No big deal. Enemies in the following duties will now drop Gil. Wanderer's Palace, Mrhappy Keep, Castrum, and Praetorium. Pretty much every enemy drops 40 to 60 gil now, which is alright. It's nice that that you can make some gil while doing those dungeons. It's a few K, and it's actually pretty significant. But even speedrunners, this isn't going to stop speedrunners from really speedrunning the dungeon. The main reason speedrunners do those dungeons is so they can get the mythology points or the philosophy points quicker. So now all they're getting is like another 1,000, 1,200 gil on top of that to pay for their tanks repair bills because they have to die repeatedly over and over again. I know, that was sort of, I don't know, we'll worry about that later. Mechanics and enemy positioning have been adjusted for the following duties: Wanderer's Palace and Castrum. I have no idea what this means. I know some people have been having trouble completing Wanderer's Palace since this was posted. I don't know if that's just because they don't know the new mechanics or if it's actually bugged currently, but I'm sure we'll find out for sure very shortly. If you know for sure, please leave it in the comments below. Castrum, I'm sure whatever they did is just to draw people away from speedrunning it, so it's very likely that those dungeons have changed significantly enough to make them more attractive or less attractive, depending on which one you're referring to. That's it for the dungeons, but then we have enemies that now spawn more often. You have Caracools and Dire Mites. Caracools have been given quite a few more spawn places all around Coerthas, Dragonhead, White Brim, Providence Point. So just look around and I'm sure you'll find all of the new spawn points. On top of that, the respawn rate of the Dire Mites in the North Shroud have been adjusted. I've not been over there and killed them myself quite yet, but I'm assuming it was an increase. Dire Mite webs are pretty rare currently, so I would assume that that was, for the most part, an increase in how much that they drop. So I'm sure we'll see that. Again, if you know for sure, leave in the comments below. People upvote those kind of comments because they are very, very helpful. Now, the following changes have been made to material melding interface. I personally didn't see any change for the first one, and that's the order of categories and the pull-down menu have been adjusted. I don't remember what they were before the patch, but they didn't seem any different to me. It was still like neck, wrists, and earrings, rings, whatever. It was still around those lines, so it didn't seem that different to me. Equipped is still at the very bottom, so I don't know. And then you have a confirmation window when you're trying to convert equipped gear. That's actually excellent, because I know a lot of people who have accidentally converted a piece of gear that they were wearing. So it's nice that they just have this little extra step, just so you don't accidentally ruin a piece of gear and end up having to go through the process of getting it again. Now, unused gear will be bound to a character after gaining any form of experience, so crafting gear, battle gear, doesn't matter what item level it is, it will bind to you as soon as you gain experience with it on. This is mostly the combat people have been doing this. Item level 70 gear, like the Vanya set and the Griffin skin set, they would only bind to you in the Binding Coil of Bahamut, so people could wear them freely, and then and then just do all the content with it, get full dark light, and then sell them back after they got their dark light set to the market boards. And basically they would just get free gear to gear up in, and they would just sell it back when they were done with it. Can't do that anymore. It will bind to you. That should actually probably raise the price of Von gear, because it'll be destroyed more often in the market. It won't be as tradable as it is now. And walnut bread is no longer sold by Shopkeep NPC in Eastern Thanael and Drybone. Didn't know that was a big thing, but apparently it is. So if that affects you, it's no longer there. Now this, another pretty significant change is right here, and these are actually all pretty significant changes other than the one. Experience gained by botanists and miners from level 16 onwards has been increased. Big deal. Again, right alongside the leaves, if you waited to level mining and botany because it was too slow, well, it's not too slow anymore. It's significantly sped up, so I would get on that if I were you. And also, the location of level 30 gathering points in Central Shroud have been adjusted. Not a big deal, but they were in a pretty annoying place before, so they're probably in a much less annoying place right now. This is probably my favorite change of the entire patch. Enhancing effects and enfeebling effects applied to another player or enemy by your character will always appear on the left-hand side of the target bar. You know how people always say, oh man, I love Summoner, but I hate how I can't keep track of the dots because they're all over the place. Well, even though the little light green versus white thing is still a pretty big deal, all of your dots and debuff effects will always be on the left-hand side now. So you can keep track of your dots as a summoner, and as any other job really, a lot easier, guys. So that is a huge change. It doesn't quite fix the whole problem with Odin and Behemoth, where if they have over, or even Savara, where if they have over 30 debuffs, nothing happens. I don't think that helps fix that at all, but we'll see. It might actually do some good. It might actually do some pretty bad, but I don't think it's going to have any effect on Odin and Behemoth. They still need to look at that and change it. And this one I thought was pretty funny. It's significant, but it's mostly funny. Players will be allowed to create a maximum of 8 characters per service account every 24 hours. Apparently the RMT got so desperate for Gil, they were doing the level 1 to 10 quests and just selling like the bronze pieces and the tin pieces, and then deleting their character and starting it over. So apparently you can't do that anymore. They're going to need more accounts, or I don't know. I think it's pretty funny that they were doing it in the first place. That's a pretty desperate attempt to make Gil. I don't know if it's good enough for them. Maybe it's good enough for me, but now I can't do it, so I'll never know. And other than that, they just fixed a ton of bugs. So a lot of them were really basic things, such as fixes to Amdapor Keep and the Binding Coil of Bahamut, unable to abandon a quest after unlocking a leave quest, walking into a fate while progressing with a leave quest will cause some problems for the PlayStation 3 viewers. Version users, I just combined that into viewers. How awesome am I? I'm not going to go over all of these because not all of them are that significant, and I'm going to include the link to all the patch notes in the description below. I do think that some of these are pretty significant. You can't use the tree trick in Amdapor Keep anymore to bug out the first boss and not take damage. So if you were doing that to beat Amdapor Keep, you can't do it anymore, guys. Probably shouldn't have been doing it in the first place. That's probably suspension worthy. I don't know, though, how Square Enix looks at that. And then Duty Finder popping you into Amdapor Keeps that are already finished. That got fixed as well. We'll see how well that works throughout the week for all of you solo queuers out there who have had this problem way more than I have. Binding Coil Bahamut Turn 5 is back online, and the immobilization problem has been fixed. Also, some other dungeon changes. Hawk Manor, apparently there was an unenterable room. The loot list in the Sunken Temple of Karn wasn't really done correctly. And that's really it for dungeons as far as I can see. Now, this is a pretty significant one as well. Players were not weakened after getting raised. That was a bug. Those of you who may not have known about it, there was a bug where if you casted raise on a target and then did an AoE buff as they were getting up next to you, then their raise would not exist. It would just not happen. That can no longer happen. You can no longer use that bug at all. So just keep that in mind. Now, this is, again, one of the best changes. Players were unable to use their pet's actions while casting a spell. Scholars and summoners out there, if you like to control your own pet and command them to use certain abilities, but you can never do it because you couldn't do it while you were casting an ability, you can now completely command your pet to do whatever you want it to, even while you're casting abilities. That is a huge amount of healing increase for scholars and some damage increase for summoners, assuming that they actually control their pets at the right times. That is a major, major increase. I was really happy to see that they fixed the pet interactions in the game. That is a huge thing. Thank you, Square Enix, for doing that. They also changed Eos and Solis. Apparently, they were not using Embrace under the required conditions, so now they will use Embrace. It seems like more often. That's what it seemed like to me when I was healing Amdapor Keep a little bit earlier. So that is amazing. Player crafted immediately after receiving benefits from food. The effects of the crafting action were increased by 1 turn. Okay, I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently people have been doing it, so, okay, that's what it is. What else do we have here? I'm just looking through for the significant ones. The player's game client would crash, or they would lose control of their character if they initiated a trade with another player and the opposing player canceled the trade. That's pretty crazy that that was even a problem, so I'm glad that they managed to fix that. Player changing areas after their companion is KO'd would not be able to summon their companion. I know a lot of people who have had this problem, so that is another great change that they're getting out there. And now a lot of these changes are mostly crash fixes, and I'm going to let you read through most of them because if I go through all of them, we're going to be here all day, guys. Some macro icon fixes, some NPC dialogue and certain quests were fixed, and the requirement for the next job quest that displayed right before completing a job quest was displayed incorrectly, so now that's displaying correctly. And grammatical errors found within the Duty Finder journal and NPC dialogue have been fixed. I guess that means we won't be queuing up for the howling eye anymore, since that was one of the spelling errors. And countermeasures have been implemented for the following issues. An issue wherein a player would occasionally not be able to progress with an instance battle. That's been happening more and more frequently, so glad to see they fixed that. An issue wherein an NPC would occasionally become non-responsive while progressing with a quest. Haven't seen that one, but glad it's fixed. An issue wherein the background music and the sound effects would not play properly under certain circumstances. I've had that happen while mining. The mining effect wouldn't actually go off, and it would really, really bother me. And an issue where the opening would not play under certain circumstances and prevented the game from starting properly. So that's all they have listed here. However, there have been a few changes. There's only one really that I found significant thus far. Now the pet thing they said they fixed, and a lot of people have been saying that that was crazy how they fixed it. There was, however, one very bad change that was not, and I repeat, was not mentioned here. Dark Devices. It is the most popular fate for leveling right now. It is like 200 EXP in about 20 minutes if done correctly. Well, a lot of people were complaining that players were going ahead and completing it and that it was ruining EXP. Well, Square Enix said, good. Players should be trying to complete the fate and not trying to keep all the enemies alive the entire time. Now, this is sort of weird. So basically what happened is Dark Devices, the enemies don't infinitely respawn anymore. So once you clear out the first wave of enemies and you kill all the lambs, that's it. You're done. Because they won't infinitely respawn anymore. So that's a thing. I mean, that's just how it is, I guess. But means that it's no longer best to hold all the enemies. If you have anything to say about that or any sort of contradiction to that statement, please mention it in the comments below, because I've heard this from multiple sources that have been saying that you can't do that anymore. You just have to finish it, and you just have to go about your regular business. Killing mobs in between there, in between fates, killing mobs at the Dark Devices area is still a good idea, but during the fate, you can't just hold out for the first 14.5 minutes and then finish it in the last 30 seconds. Can't do that anymore. Also, it makes me wonder about some of the other fates where you can do this, because a lot of people don't actually take use of the fact that the collection fates with like the water sprites and Coerthus, or any of the elemental ones, or anything at all that requires collection, you can actually just stand still and AoE all the mobs and do the same thing that you would do during Dark Devices. I wonder if that's going to become more popular now that Dark Devices is going to fall out of popularity, if people are going to start doing that with the collection quest as opposed to picking up items and handing them in, as opposed to in the last minute or so handing in all your items to make sure that you get full credit and then AoEing for another minute. I have a feeling that we might see more of that popping up in the near future. And that's pretty much all that I've seen. I'm surprised they didn't mention that in these bug fixes, but the pet thing, the dot thing, the changes to philosophy and mythology, they're all really good. For all of the official notes, please look at the description below. Overall, I think that the changes were mostly good. Some of the things were a little bit I mean, fixes are always good, but I wish they'd at least announced that they were changing Dark Devices the way that they did. I'm not a fan of like ninja fixing certain things, so that's what it was. It was a ninja fix, but I guess we'll see how it plays out in the coming weeks, guys. So that's all that you really need to know. Those are most of the bug fixes. Those are most of the patch notes. So if you want to check them out, look in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, favorite, subscribe, and share for more Final Fantasy XIV information. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. You can keep up to date with all of my videos, with what I'm posting, with what I'm doing at the time, when I'm streaming and whatnot. And also be sure to follow me on Twitch, because I have been streaming Final Fantasy XIV and Kingdom Hearts back and forth really for the past week or so. And I'm going to be doing that a lot more. For the official schedule, you can look on my channel. It's Sundays and Wednesdays from noon to 5:30. It sometimes stretches outside of those parameters, but for the most part, you can find me on them at that point. Tomorrow, I'll be putting up a video to let you guys know when I'm streaming, and hopefully you guys can stop by and have some fun. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.